Ghostbusters, where they're like, just don't think about anything.
Don't think about anything.
Don't think about anything, and then they think of the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yep.
That's what streaming is like.
When an ancient god tells you. At least he thought about something, like, not scary. Could have thought of, like, a dildo.
Tess,
Can you imagine
there?
that? Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Could have been a giant dildo.
I would have thought of, like, a super hot guy. You know what I mean? Because then I'd be like, oh no, it's
guy.
like he's like all oiled up. Like, oh, what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do? He's too sexy.
Yeah. Have you guys ever, there's like this webcomic called Help Us Brave Warrior. Have you guys ever read that?
No.
Oh, you'd love it. It's just the most adorable thing ever. It's basically like this, like, little potato girl, and she's, like, super cute or whatever, and she just, like, does, like, girl stuff. And so she's like, oh, shit, I'm in the void of eternal darkness. I shouldn't have fallen into that hole or whatever. I'll never meet anyone. And then, like, a guy, like, floats by, he's like, oh my god, it's the long-lost king of sexiness. He's like, thank God you found me. It's just been me, these body oils, and pizza bagels for millennia. And
Pizza bagels!
yeah, I love that webcomic. Super cute. Anyway.
I like webcomics, but the only problem is that I feel like they'll release, like, every week, and so, like, I'll go read it once, and I'll read, like, 50 back comics, be like, whoa, this is so good, and then I forget that it exists, and I never read it again.
Well, I'm too far behind on Cucumber Quest to keep up now.
Mm-hmm. Cucumber Quest, what?
Hey, how is everybody's audio levels? How does Stacy and I sound? How does Tess sound? Audio levels.
Hello.
Whoa.
Good. Josh's WO4 says good. By the way, this Twitch channel just got partnered. I have to shout. Just got partnered, so you can subscribe now. And Tess is working on the icons. One is going to be Stacy's face. The other is going to be my face. And then the subscriber icon is going to be a gay alien. I left it up to Tess to figure out how she's going to depict that.
A Galian?
Yeah,
a Galian. That's right.
Because I chose a GIF that says, online, no one knows I'm a gay alien for whenever people follow. Mm-hmm. And then that just turned into, it got out of control.
It quickly devolved into madness. I saw the Brokeback Mountain thing with the gay aliens.
Oh, yeah.
It was on your Twitter, Mari. I know you saw it.
Gay aliens found? Oh, no, the other one. Where it's like the gay agenda with aliens. So today is Geek Remix Live. It's going to be relaxed.
Yep.
And Tess is here. Tess Young, the creator
of our animations.
One of hers just came out today. Follow her on the Chic Monster.
Oh my god, the Chick Monster.
Most people listen. I don't care. It's as long as you spell it right, you're good. But do please follow me on Twitter. I'm desperate for attention.
It's in the chat now.
Yep.
And today she was going to talk to us about pink games. Can you explain what that
that's so cool. Well, let me just give it in, like, it's kind of weird just talking about pink games or whatever, but most of you probably don't know this, but I am developing my own pink game. It's called Charmixie Witch Academy. Sorry, guys, I have to plug.
It is so cute, though. It's so cute.
Yeah, so while I was working on that game, I did a lot of research about kind of the genre of pink games and stuff like that. And so I was just talking to Mari about it a while ago. And Mari's super cool gal. Because
I'm a cool galaxy.
Yeah.
I'm not a gal, I'm a galaxy.
Galaxy. Super cool galaxy. But I was, like, talking to, like, other guy friends about it. And they did, like, that mansplaining thing. And it was so fucking annoying. I'll tell the story about that afterwards. But I talked to Mari, and she was, like, the only one who, like, gave a shit. And she was
I
like,
thought it was fucking rad. She stayed... Stacey, Tess pretty much did, like, a serial podcast level shit on finding pink games.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, well, yeah, it's so fascinating. And And I'll drop some resources for anyone who's interested in that.
I think that our following is going to really enjoy this because pink games, as you said, get a bad rap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
honestly,
games,
Mari and I were talking about this on the way over here. I was trying to think of any that I had played. I couldn't think of any.
I played the Barbie fashion one. I told Stacy this. I played the Barbie fashion one when I was a kid, and I would just make Barbie wear, like, try to get her as naked as possible, and then have her go down the runway.
Mari, fucking same. I had the Barbie game, and I would play it. I would just like, are my parents watching? All right, bikini, extra skimp. I would like the color of her skin and shit.
Bikini. I remember it was a strapless bikini. It was
Yeah.
A lot of
that like tiny little thing.
Yeah, I would try to, because I tried to
Yes.
make her go down there with no clothes on, and that was just underwear. But but I wanted it less than the underwear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, but that's really interesting that you mentioned that game because it was actually a pivotal game in the like pink game movement. Prior to that, okay, so let me back up a little bit. There was kind of the beginning of video games was kind of like a free range era. There were a lot of really weird games out there, you know, and oh god, Ian Bogost, he wrote about this. There's also an episode on PBS, sorry, I'm just like, my head is like overflowing with all of these references. It's really hard to put them into organized thought. But Ian Bogost, who is a video game scholar, talked about the era before the video game crash. And it was kind of like free range. It was very similar to the indie game movement that we have now. The only problem was they weren't developed by individuals. Games cost a lot of money to make. So most of the like weird games that were out there would basically just be a drain on a company's resources. And that led to a lot of companies crashing. Hence the video game crash of, oh god, this is going to be great.
80 something, early 80s.
I want to say 1983. I am so bad with numbers.
Okay, so there was a video game crash mostly due to, well, not, the final nail in the coffin was E.T., and there was a bunch of games being put out for the Atari?
Yeah,
right?
it's mostly known, the video game crash is mostly known for, like, when Atari was kind of in trouble, but there were, like, a lot of games, like, a few years before and a few years after that were in financial trouble. But I looked this on Wikipedia, so I don't know if this particular fact is true, but apparently in Japan it's called Atari Shock, which is kind of an interesting thing. I don't know. Again, I can't verify it. But yeah.
Well, the main problem was that a bunch of unlicensed games were coming out for the systems that really sucked, and then parents would buy them, and the kids would be like, what the fuck is this? Because they were cheaper than the other games. Mm-hmm. And so then everyone thought that games sucked, and everyone stopped buying games.
Yeah. It wasn't, I don't think it was so much sucky games, because there were some good games, but it was just oversaturation. You couldn't find the good games in the bad, and it was really impossible to,
Well, because they didn't have the internet in the way that we do now, where
Absolutely.
It's like you could just look up a Metacritic score.
And but through the video game crash, the thing that held things through was the PC market, which I think is something that happened like a few years ago, where games I honestly think were struggling, and then the PC market kind of came back with all the indie games. Yeah. But anyway, sorry to go on a tangent.
The Pink Games movement the Pink Games movement was actually born on the PC market. That was like mainly where it got its start. But after the video game, sorry, what were you saying?
Well, I just want to point out that the PC, despite it being like not really a gaming platform, is the platform that the most amount of people have. So a pink game for the PC actually makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of how it went. So Nintendo kind of stepped in after the end of the crash, and that's how it got its start. And they did this thing which technically saved video games, but it really limited. It's kind of the cause for most of the limits that games have now. Sort of the idea that they're for kids, that they can't have any kind of mature concepts. That was all because of Nintendo. Nintendo marketed I think it was the NES, to toy stores, and they paired it with toys and those kinds of things, and they introduced something called the Nintendo Seal of Quality, which was a way to kind of prevent sort of the oversaturation of games and those kinds of things that, Atari had done. So Nintendo was really paying attention to all the problems that were happening before, so they tried to do kind of the opposite of that.
if I remember correctly, they advertised it as a entertainment system, and it came with a robot that would play the video games with you. Right?
Rob, correct? Yeah. I think you can play him in Smash Brothers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but he sucks, Stacy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're missing out on the robot.
No, I don't remember that at all. I had an NES like 5 or 6 years after it was released. So.
Yeah. No, yeah. I played. We had a. This is a tangent, but at my school we had like a Smash Brothers setup, and there was always like this fucking robot. I was like, what is he from? I've never seen him, and like nobody could tell me. And then I was doing the research for this, and I was like, it was Rob. I was like, oh my god, they put their robot in there, which I guess isn't that big of a surprise because they put the Game & Watch guy in there too.
The Game &
Anyway,
Watch.
Game & Watch, Mr. Game & Watch.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's like a little. God, I don't know how to describe it. You know, like those little handheld games that were just like, it's basically like a gray screen and then like black images would appear.
The LED things.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Game & Watch is like one of those characters, and apparently he was like, there was like a Game & Watch handheld game that Nintendo put out, and he's also in Smash. So, yeah. That was a big tangent. Anyway, sorry. Video game history is very fun, and it goes off in all kinds of crazy directions. Right, so Nintendo put out the Nintendo Single Quality, and they marketed the NES as an entertainment system, but as a toy. And toys have had a long history of being gendered. This is really, really important.
Yep.
So, you know, girls would play with dolls, and it's like, this was all way before video games. Prior to this, the video games were marketed, I mean, guys would play them more often, that was still true, and that people think has to do with the fact that, you know, men were, they would go into kind of more STEM positions, so they were more comfortable using a computer. But
can I just add in an interesting thing is that the first programmers for like computers and stuff were women because they considered it to be a secretary job. So
right.
So I just wanted to add that in because it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as guys are like, well, this is actually kind of cool, they're like, get out, women, this is like our thing.
Suddenly it's not for women. Now that it's cool, you can do cool things with it.
Yeah. So, it was marketed as a family system, but then after Nintendo came in, it was like, nope, guys are the market. There is a quote, like, from some kind of Nintendo representative who just was straight up like, yeah, we're marketing only to guys. Video games are for guys. And that kind of set the precedent for the next, 16 years. It was pretty crazy. So, anyway, by that time, it was impossible to make a game that was sort of like, quote-unquote, gender neutral, because guys were the only people considered to be playing video games at all. So they would automatically appropriate anything that was put out for the general public.
I often feel like gender neutral in terms of video game demographics always leans towards a more stereotypically masculine thing.
Yeah.
Well, this is really interesting. Because it's absolutely fascinating. There's a book out there, and I think it's the only book that documents the history, which is just so upsetting to me, that documents the history of the Pink Games movement. The only book out there. And it's called Barbie versus Mortal Kombat.
Holy
wow.
shit! Wait, I thought that was a real. I would like imagine that as a game, and I was like, holy shit! Like Marvel versus
That would be so cool.
Marvel versus Capcom, but like Barbie
God.
versus Mortal Kombat. That'd be fucking rad.
I would love a Barbie fighting game, like Ken versus fucking Liana. I don't know.
No,
anyway.
I want Barbie versus Mortal Kombat characters. Barbie and Mortal Kombat like together.
He rips out her spine, but it's like inside there's like nothing, so it just like
and she keeps going like no,
yeah!
I don't need it.
Yeah, like her arm falls off, but she's like reattaches it, just like pops it back in. That'd be great. But yeah, that said that it had a really interesting study. They had a lot of scientists going in, and they were kind of doing studies on the phenomenon of games and gender. And they said that when men designed games that were gender neutral, they would design them with, more violent things. Like they would design for themselves. And when women designed games that were gender neutral, women had like more range. but it's not because like women are like better designing video games or anything. It's just because men had this very specific idea of what like video games were. Yeah. So men would always design for themselves. There was like a study on this. Like they did not know how to design for women. It was really, really interesting. Which is important, I should note now, is yeah, like, and it's another thing when you say like, oh well, you know, we can make games for women or whatever. It's like, no, you need to hire women in the video games industry. You can't just take up all the roles.
Yeah. You can't just go, I don't know, put pink on it.
Yeah.
Well, I never understand how people think that more diversity in the writing staff or design team is somehow bad.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so I feel, this is how I feel. This is not a scientific fact. Yeah. I feel that sometimes people think like, oh, they were hired only because they're a woman or only because they're a person of color. It's like, no, that's not entirely true. Like, in order to, like, I always think of it as the Geth. The Geth say they are one being, many eyes looking at the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at a sphere and all you can see is one part of the sphere, that's all you think there is. You think it's a circle. But if someone's standing on another part of the sphere and another person's standing on a different part of the sphere and you all talk to each other, you realize it's not a circle, it's a sphere.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a great poll, Mare. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, this all kind of ties into, it's really important to hire women because, you know, you can't make games for women if you're not one, or you don't at least, like, talk to one.
Talk to one at some point.
Some point in development.
Yeah, at some point in development. Anyway, right, so I completely lost track of where I was.
I'm so sorry. You were talking about how women will make a game that's a little outside of their perspective, while men tend to make it gender neutral, but for themselves.
Yeah. So, right, okay. Now I remember where I was. So the gendering of games, it kind of became sort of embedded into society. You know, I don't really know how that kind of stuff works, but because of Nintendo and they marketed strictly to boys, that's how it became a boys market. And so they would sell sports game and adventure fantasy games and, you know, things that were kind of childlike and not very, like, complex. And they would sell it to boys. So long come, I think it was 1994. I'm terrible with numbers. I'm so paranoid when I say, like, dates, because, like, again, it's like that mansplaining things. I've just
if you get one small thing wrong.
Yeah, I get
I get like that too. Actually, don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I get like that too, where I'm so worried about making a small mistake, because then if you make a small mistake, everyone's like, "Oh well, you don't really
I can't
know
trust
it."
anything you say.
And it's like if somebody else did that, they would just go like, "Oh, actually, it's blah blah blah."
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. So I want to say 1994. There's this game that comes out called Hawaii High: Mystery of the Tiki. Now this one is yeah, it's actually, it's crazy. It was designed by the first woman to ever write a Wonder Woman comic, Trina Robbins. Weird. Yeah. And the art is really, really pretty and stuff like that. But there was like no budget for this game. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 5,000. It was abysmally low.
You know what that reminds me of? Everyone's like, the Gem and the Hologram movie sucks. And I'm like, it got a $5 million budget, while G.I. Joe got a $100 million budget.
Well, yeah, and it was directed by, the worst, I don't know how they were like, you know who knows women? These guys.
Yes. These men.
They'll know what they're looking for in a Gem and the Holograms movie. Yes.
Neither gems nor holograms.
Yeah.
It
for
was,
sure.
Let's not talk it. That's like, that's just like a really
she's
dark
upset.
spot. Yeah. I like fucking love Gem. I loved Gem. And this was just like, I was like, oh, your childhood? Like,
there wasn't fashion. There wasn't fame.
Yeah.
There wasn't holograms.
It was so far from outrageous. It was.
It was not outrageous.
Yeah, it was really not outrageous. Anyway.
Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm very upset by like Gem and the Holograms.
I never even watched it because I just saw the trailers and I was like, that's only gonna piss me off. I'm just gonna sit this one out.
I don't
Oh
wanna
my
be
God,
disappointed.
you are
Yeah.
so right. How right you are. Which is, can we just talk about? Have any of you guys read the Gem and the Holograms comic?
You know what I did read? I read the one that was made by Gem and the Holograms, and she made Amethyst. And it was, you have to read Amethyst. I have it. I got copies of Amethyst for my sister because I loved it so much. Her powers are fucking rad, and they canceled it because fuck society.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay, if you read this and
No,
you
I'm
found
saying
out,
you're shouting.
I'm shouting because
I'm sitting right next to you.
I need people to know. Her gem could turn her outfit into anything she thought of. And it was made out of a special, like, cloud thing. It was made out of, like, cloud silk or something. It was awesome. It was so cool.
That's like sell your soul to a demon for that shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, she didn't have to. That was her power because she's Amethyst.
That's
Anyway, sorry. Just a long list of injustices.
really cool.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the Gem and the Holograms comic is like licensed by Hasbro or whatever, and it's like written by this really talented team of women, I think. And I was like this came out way before the movie. I'm like, you guys didn't hire those guys to maybe have a say in the movie? No.
No.
Nope.
Anyway,
Give them no money and put a man in charge.
right? Yeah. So yeah, again, Hawaii High Mystery of the Tea was abysmally though. It had to be marketed as an educational game about Hawaii, and
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's
Yeah, and it had this is so hilarious. In the credits of the game, because I actually played the game for my research, in the credits of the game, there's like this luau that you go to, and it's just like, you know, some people sitting around a fire eating like a pig or whatever. And at the very end of the game, it's the same image of the people sitting around the fire, and it says, "Come to Trader Joe's Hawaiian Luau's every Monday."
Oh, wow.
Like they had so little money to fund this game. They had to take out a Trader Joe's ad. I mean, Jesus.
I just want to point out my mom's from Hawaii, and if somebody saw that from Hawaii, they would burn it.
Yes.
They would go to the offices and burn them
riot,
alive.
But
Yeah.
nobody saw it because
Yeah.
nobody
Well,
looked at the...
This came
Thank
back.
God.
This came back out in like
Hello?
the early '90s, so
Oh,
people
okay.
weren't really quite as conscious of it. Did I cut out? Hello?
I think maybe you were just paused.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, it was in the '90s, so people weren't really as conscious as they were nowadays. Although I think they
I'm talking about people in Hawaii get real mad. You think they're chill, they're not. They're mad. Like they told my dad they were gonna kill him. Not they, but you know what I mean.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
My dad was dating my mom, and some locals were like, "We're gonna kill you," and he was like, "I'm gonna go back to my fiance's family."
Yeah. I have been to Hawaii, and it's like all the tourists there like don't know how like unchill the islanders are about them not being there.
Yeah.
I went to college with a girl who was actually from Hawaii, and it was the same thing. She just like hated everything and everybody, and she was telling me about how like she was like, I fucking hate living in Hawaii because I hate everybody that comes to visit, and I just like...
Well, sorry to go off. This is Geek Remix. We can't stay
Yet
on
another
topic for even a
tangent.
second.
That's
For one
totally
second.
Oh,
fine.
this is you.
Yeah. Well, you know, whatever.
It's your podcast, you know. Live your truth. Don't your dreams be dreams.
Okay. So Hawaii High, cultural appropriation, sexism.
Whoa, okay.
Right, well, I should mention that they also did some kind of a partnership with the Hawaii tourism thing or whatever. But the point is that they were just trying to make money to fund the damn game any
Yep.
way that they could.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a
Sold their
tiny
soul.
little game. And so this game, which it was technically the first game to try, the first like part of the Pink Games movement, but it wasn't like the thing that got the ball rolling. And there's something, I think if you look it up on TV tropes, there's like a word for both of these. There's one where it's like, this is the first person to do it, and then there's like another thing, like this person was not the first person to do it, but they were what made it like a thing. Mm-hmm. So the game that made it a thing was Barbie Fashion Designer, which came out in 1996, I believe.
Is that the one we're talking about?
Eggs and mince, I'm eating flan. Sorry if you can hear that. Yeah. Apologies.
Live your truth, Tess.
Yeah,
Who
thank
you
you.
are.
Yeah. So it was Barbie Fashion Designer, and it was huge. It sold millions and millions of copies.
To perverted little girls everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the thing. What Hawaii High couldn't do that Mattel could do, Mattel Interactive. Mattel originally had like kind of a software division prior to the Atari games crash. Again, it was one of the companies that kind of locked up, shut down its doors after, the crash and stuff. But they got started again. And again, in Barbie versus Mortal Kombat, they do an interview with, I think it's like the CEO of Barbie Interactive, Mattel Interactive. And she talks about, like, this is the reason why Hawaii High failed and this game succeeded, because Mattel had the money and they had the brand, which was very, very important. So when a father went into a PC store to buy some kind of a game and he sees Barbie Interactive, he says, I know that my daughter likes Barbie. And I know that Barbie... computer. Yeah, I've got a computer. I know that my daughter likes Barbie, and this is something that we can kind of bond over, or sort of, that was kind of the idea that they were doing. And, they had a few other games that came out the same year. Mattel did. I think one of them was like a fantasy story or whatever. But Barbie was the one that was like really, really like crazy amazing. And so, sorry, I'm just glancing at the comments. So it's really incredible. And so people started doing studies about this, and they kind of discovered the things that kind of girls were really into when they played a game. And this is the kind of the really important part of the Pink Games movement, because all the things that were important to sort of quote-unquote gameplay for girls eventually made its way into mainstream games. And Pink Games were the first people to do it, and they never got any of the credit for doing that.
Here's the thing. People don't take shit serious. It's like, when I was younger, I was so self-conscious about liking Viva Pinata, liking games like that, because I didn't feel like those were real games. I wasn't a real gamer. I wasn't hardcore. Mm-hmm. And I would go to GameStop and be like, oh yeah, I'm trading these in. And they'd be like, oh, do you want other games like this? I'd be like, no, I want Call of Duty or whatever. And I just felt like I wasn't like cool or whatever, a fucking video game store. But
yeah,
it's like,
right.
And people just don't want to give that shit credit,
Right. So yeah, so I've kind of given you guys the baseline for Pink Games and how they've ended up. So just really quickly, like, open-ended play was really important for girls. Story was really important for girls. These were the studies that were done. I'm not just
Skyrim can be accredited to girls.
Oh, 100%. Skyrim, Mass Effect. Yeah, Skyrim is very important. Now, when you see like a pick your own dialogue type of game, they're not all the same kind of game. There's a bunch of different kinds of dialogue interactions. There's one where it's like it's called like a computer test, and then there's one where you're testing the computers. There's one where the computer's testing you, and then one where you're testing the computer.
It reminds me of that test where what's the test for AI where you need to be tested if you can pass as a human?
Turing. The
Turing test. Yes.
Yeah. It's not quite like that. When it says computer test you, it's not like actual testing, but basically let's say you were presented with 3 options.
It's
and
like
somebody's
to see whether it's your personality or whether you're testing like the character for their personality, as opposed to yours, or
I'll explain it. Test is a misleading word, I'm realizing. But yeah. So let's say that you're presented with 3 options, and a player in the game is asking you a question, and you can't get past them. This is very early adventure game stuff. You can't get past them unless you answer correctly. That's computer testing you. And then there's you testing the computer, and this is what girl games kind of put out there, was there wasn't any kind of there wasn't any kind of pass-fail situation.
Oh,
it was talking to the computer or the game, and it was giving you information just for the pleasure of receiving information.
This reminds me of a study that what happened they were having girls and boys, like middle school age girls and boys, doing basic coding classes, and the boys would complete their assignment as per asked, like, okay, I did it, and then the girls would be a little bit more, I don't want to say more creative because that would be kind of dismissive to the boys, but like in a more obtuse way, where you had to be a little bit more involved, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so the Pink Games movement kind of created this sort of player testing computer where it was more about you talking to the game and getting information for the game just for the pleasure of getting information for the game. And you weren't necessarily tested by that. There was a game that came out called McKenzie Co, which was one of the first kind of like story type games where it was all about you picking out a social role, and it wasn't so much about, you know, being good or bad. Again, it was like one of the first early games. And if any of you guys are, the story for McKenzie Co is fucking bonkers. Like the woman who worked on it, she was like the director of it or whatever. It was basically handed down to her from the company that she was working with, and people just had a box of videotapes because it included like live action videotapes in the game, and they were just like passing them down. Like nobody wanted to fucking touch this project because this was before girl games were like really a big thing. And she got it, and she's like, okay, I guess we have to make a game out of this. And her boss was crazy. Her boss was like, would like give her a car one day and then like scream at her and tell her that she was trying to like uproot her or something the next day. It was insane. And she like put out this game, and it actually sold really, really well. But of course, it was for girls, so nobody took it seriously. But if you ever want like a really fun story, look up the history of McKenzie Co, the oral history.
Is it fair to say then, if girl games are the ones that wanted to test the computer more and have the interactive experience, is it fair to say that a lot of the interactive things we see today, like in Skyrim with the dialogue choices, and in early Fallout games with the dialogue choices, and like, you know, the romances and in a lot of BioWare games, is that fair to say? Every modern romance in a game is absolutely entirely due to Pink Games. Like, they were absolutely the first people to do that. What about like dialogue systems? Like in the early Fallouts?
Very similar. Well, I don't know about the early Fallouts, but like Skyrim and Mass Effect, I know those kinds of dialogue systems were very heavily inspired by Pink Games, for sure. Because prior to this, dating games and other kind of interactive games were all about what stats did you have. Like, there's still those games out there where it's like, you know, you have to study and that way you can impress the girl or whatever. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But Pink Games was like, no, you don't give them gifts, you don't do that kind of, you just talk to the character and you sort of behave in the way that the character is interested in, and that's how they get to like you. Like, yes, all of those games owe it to Pink Games, but of course they don't get any of the credit because it's
even in my own mind right now, I still have a hard time giving credit towards what people would call quote-unquote Pink Games, you know, even though that's not true. You know what I'm saying?
I honestly can't even think of any. But I didn't play any when I was a kid. The closest thing I think I played, because I played Yoshi Story.
Is that a Pink game?
Which is not a Pink game, pretty sure.
But here's the thing, it's just been so ingrained in me because of the way, I guess, gamers view girly games. It's hard for me to, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
We can talk about that too, because and anytime that something is kind of like important, again, like it's the same thing with programming or whatever, guys would automatically push women out of it. And a really good example of that, and this is like another story, I'm basically now just going to tell you stories about how fucked up the industry is based on the research that I've done.
Good. We love it.
Now we're gonna talk about Candy Crush Saga and Tetris. So, Tetris was a game designed by Alex Payetnov. Its history is well documented in several video game history books. But it pretty much made the Game Boy, the handheld Game Boy. It was one of the biggest selling games for that title. And I believe it is one of the best-selling games of all time. It's named by a lot of people as the most perfectly designed game. And Tetris is a casual game by all standards. But, of course, for some reason, males like to, or gamers sometimes like to distinguish it from Candy Crush Sega or something like that. They'll either try to dismiss it as, oh, Candy Crush Sega is pay what you want or whatever. But any kind of tile matching game, you know, like Chuzzle, Bejeweled is very important. All these games, Tetris absolutely fits into that slot. But men try to distinguish Tetris as a more cerebral game. And it's totally not a casual game.
It's true!
Yeah. But prior to the Tetris was a huge hit. And it was due to the fact that women would buy the game just as much as men did. There's a specific quote.
Because it was a largely untapped market that people actually realized was important?
No, this was, yeah. They just, I mean, it was just like a general market kind of thing. It was, I think I want to say it was the history book, All Your Games Belong to Us, but there was a specific quote, something like Alex was like, or some of the producers were trying to decide what game to kind of license for the Game Boy, and one of them said like, oh, boys already like to play Mario or something, and that will sell the Game Boy. And one of them said, well, if you want everyone to play the Game Boy, you put Tetris on it. And it was true. And because Tetris kind of had it was a casual game. It was what people today would call a casual game. If Tetris came out today, it would be called a casual game.
Well, it's like low barrier to entry. Anybody can get into it. It's very gender neutral.
Easy to learn, difficult to master.
Yeah. And, so yeah, but, like, nowadays, casual games have just this they're absolutely associated with women 100%, and people don't take them seriously. And that's because, as soon as the mobile game market came out, developers started creating these types of games. Well, even before that, Bejeweled, it was open-ended play, you know, it was easy to pick up, and it was, you know, those kinds of features that were good for... Bejeweled got really popular with housewives, women who just didn't have a lot of time to play games, but, you know, wanted something to pass the time. And that's kind of how it got branded as a casual game. And then the mobile market came out, and games like Candy Crush Saga. I hate having to cite Candy Crush Saga because I hate the company King, but whatever. It's still important historically, so I do have to say it. But yeah, guys, don't play Candy Crush Saga. It's developed by literally the devil.
The bad devil, not the good devil.
Yeah, the bad devil of companies. Anyway, so yeah, like just the comparison of the attitude toward Tetris, how popular it is, and the attitude toward Bejeweled and games like Candy Crush Saga is just another example of how guys will. The only thing that really makes one game quote unquote better than the other is its audience. Guys did not take any of those other games seriously because they were primarily played by women. And I'm sure you guys
with Undertale, where a lot of guys, and I'm not trying to say all guys because it's not all men, not all guys. There's majority of men. Awesome. It's just a few loud weirdos will be like, Undertale sucks, blah blah blah. But you know why? Because it's popular with girls. Undertale is popular with teenagers and girls.
I can't chime in here. Have not played Undertale.
I don't know much about the history of Undertale, so same.
People don't take it seriously. They say it's not a real game, even though Undertale is literally the apex of everything that is a game. It uses every single game trope, is a game, uses game mechanics to tell the story, but people will call it not a game because it's popular on like
Tumblr.
On Tumblr and with girls and stuff. Because it's an emotional game.
Yeah.
And it's sold like 10 million copies or something like that. Don't cite me on that.
But yeah. It
sold a billion copies.
It sold billions. It's taken over the world.
Yeah,
but
Toby Fox is sitting real pretty right now.
It sold a million copies. Stacey can look it up.
I'm looking up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, some gamers have a long history of just, what is the word? Delegitimizing anything that women happen to like more than men. The not a game argument is a very popular one. I'm sure you guys have also heard 50% of video game players are women. And what's the number one fucking thing that you hear whenever someone quotes that
Those
stat?
are casual games. And then when we show people our stats, it's like our stats of who watches our shit. It's like, oh, well then let's play videos don't really represent who plays the games. And I'm like, how many fucking what do I need to show you? What do I need to show you to make you believe? Like, what do I need to do? Because clearly no matter what I show you, and also like 50% of Xbox owners are women.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, you know?
Yeah, so it's just another thing of every time that a woman gets her hands on it, it's, you know, delegitimizing. That's just the history of pink games. It's the same thing.
I internalize it. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, I did too when I was much younger. I'll tell this story really briefly, but I was really, really ashamed of my own femininity when I was younger.
Same.
And but I have to thank Sailor Moon for that. I think was really the turning point for me. I mentioned it in a lot of stuff that I talk about, but yeah, Sailor Moon was like the first thing that I was like, oh, you can be girly and awesome at the same time, and so yeah.
That's why we needed things like My Little Pony, but no! We gotta get weird about that shit, too.
So, as of January 28th, Undertale has sold just under 1 million copies on Steam.
But that's, how many months ago?
January 28th?
Yeah.
That's
4 months ago?
I don't know, Mario. What month is it?
March? April?
No, seriously, do you need me to tell you what month it is, though?
It's April.
Okay.
It's April.
I don't want to hold out on you, since it says so right there.
Where? Where does it say it?
On the screen.
Oh. That says 4, Stacy. It doesn't say April.
All right, Tess, as you were saying.
Well, that's one of the stories. I think the other story I'm going to tell you is about Pac-Man. And this goes before the video game crash, but this is really interesting.
Pac-Man was a real game. Miss Pac-Man was for casuals.
Well, yeah, Pac-Man was actually designed for women. It was one of the first like really big games that was just designed with women in mind.
It's the first social justice game.
Yeah. So the designer noticed that a lot of men were going to the arcades and it really wasn't there wasn't like a game that really appealed to women. So he tried to use, and this was before they even figured out what it was, so, you know, props to him for figuring it out. But he's like, women want something that's not necessarily very violent. He put a lot of cute characters in there, you know, things that he thought would appeal to women.
That are adorable.
Do you know if you talked to a real woman? A real girl?
I do not know. It doesn't say in the history books, but hopefully
I hear you had a girlfriend who lived in Canada.
Oh, hard drags. Hard drag. But yeah, so he designed it for women, and this was such a fascinating story to me. When he pitched it, I think it was Namco, the company that it was either Namco or Taito. Forgive me for getting it wrong. I don't have the book in front of me, but he pitched it, and there were like a group of, I think, about 5 other games that were involved. And everyone in the marketing business, there was another game that was like a racing game, and you would, more for guys, I guess. And everyone kind of banked on that game being kind of the big hit that year, that summer or whatever.
Haha, suckers.
Thank you, Infinite Nine. Infinite Nine says it's Namco. So all of the people were like, let's order more cabinets for this other, I think it was called Racer X. And so they put it out, and Pac-Man just wildly outsold Racer X. It was huge. And the reason for that was women players. There is a
50% bigger market, basically. So twice the market as there was. Sorry, not 50% bigger.
It might not have necessarily been twice as much. You know, it didn't attract every woman, but it definitely attracted a lot more women. And so there's a really excellent arcade, I think, documentary. I want to say it's Enter Coin or something like that. So it talked about, they had like a whole 5-minute segment about this explosion of women gamers in the arcade, and all that the women gamers would do is play Pac-Man. It was just an absolute, Pac-Man was huge. It just
can I just like, sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
People talk about like, oh, well, the free market should make a decision, blah, blah, blah. Well, the free market, like, a lot of the times, the free market is controlled by people who are...
Not the market.
Not the market, or people who assume they know what the free market is. But in reality, like, imagine, like, all these people keep missing opportunities because they think, this is what the market is. This is what the free market is telling us is what the market is. And there's so many examples where people went, well, what if the free market wasn't this? What if we made it so it was a little bit more open so we could attract a different audience? Then we can make so much money. And people just go, no. Because the free market is controlled by people who... All humans have biases. I have biases. Stacey has biases. Tess has biases. Things that tell us something that's probably sexist against guys or women or non-binary people, and stuff like that. And we make mistakes. So sometimes the free market is wrong.
Or just like things that like say, like, you know how Tess was saying that guys would design games that were like, oh, like I'll design it for me, what I want. The world is full of people who design, like, the game that they would want to play, which is fine, but which is why if you end up with only the same type of person, you're going to end up with the same types of games.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just to be clear, the free market excuse is kind of a lie, and it's one that people who are trying to delegitimize female gamers and female games, it's the one that they tell because it's the one that works for them most consistently, because they know that the free market is usually not free. But anytime that somebody actually does make a game and markets it...
Well, if it was actually for real the free market, like in the strict definition of free market, then yes. But it's usually said by people who are not practicing the free market.
Yeah. Like, what was that? Remember Me? I think that was the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The game
they didn't advertise it, and then it did poorly, and they're like, see?
Exactly.
See how it is? And you're like, no, dude. What?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anytime you're looking at a game and people aren't taking it seriously, I hope that, you know, some of the history here, and there's so much more about the Pink Games history. I just looked into it because I just love Pink Games, and it's kind of me sort of trying to make up for my childhood, I guess. Again, I was really ashamed of my femininity when I was younger, and so now I'm just kind of making use of my time trying to embrace it and really look at the history of Pink Games. And God, it's story after story that will just make you really pissed off about the games industry. But, yeah, so that's
I'm sure it's pretty bad for, like, other demographics of people, too, but this is just the subject of the game right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think to me that one is the most, well, it's relevant to me, and also it's 50% of the population.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. And if you guys are interested in the history of Pink Games, I highly recommend that you check out the Femicom Museum, FEMICOM, and it's run by Rachel Mill. I always forget her last name. But she is collecting artifacts about Pink Games and really documenting the history, and she helped me out a lot with my research. So shout out to her. Shout out to the Femicom Museum. And yeah, so I'm basing Charmixy kind of on a lot of those principles, and I hope in the future that the games that I make will just be unashamedly feminine. Of course, nowadays, you know, you don't have to be... Yeah, nowadays, gender is like really, really very
good.
fluid. No,
Yeah,
it's like a fluid concept. So you obviously you don't have to be a girl to appreciate these things. But
I know I talk shit about bronies, but you know, bronies are cool because they're like, I like it. Deal with it, world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. I like My Little Pony. you know?
Well, yeah, that's really nice about bronies. I think the really problem came in was when they started, you know, doing the same thing as pushing women out of the hobby.
Pushing women out of the bronies. Dude,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Let them in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of Charmixy and the other games in the future that I hope to make. I really just want to.
Tell people about Charmixy.
Yeah, because it's really cute.
Oh yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm making a game called Charmixy Witch Academy. It's a tile-based battling game, kind of. I guess if anyone's ever played Tetris Attack, it's very, very similar if you have that. And it also involves kind of like an interacting with sort of witches in this little kind of witch academy. You know, it's very cute, it's very pink and girly and stuff like that, things like that I like. it recently had its dating. We were going to have dating, but we had to have it removed because we're running out of time, and nobody is paying us for this. So, but if you'd like to change that, go to patreon.com/theshikamonster and give me money. But I'm going to make the game one way or another.
Type in the chat, please.
Oh, sure. Here, let me get the link.
And then I can put it in the link in the description when this goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. There's that. And the Tumblr for the game, which is kind of the development blog, is that. Hang on. Yeah. Geek Remix did do a thing of that Geek Remix fan, and when the game is out, I'm sure that they will probably do like a quick look or something like that. I hope so anyway.
Absolutely not. Unacceptable.
No,
Okay.
That's nepotism. Can't
All right,
do
cool.
it.
That's, yeah. Okay, I guess the podcast is over then. Goodbye. No.
Wait.
But so I'd like to briefly talk, if it's okay, about because I just want to vent. I just want to rant now.
Oh, wait. Before the juicy rant, we got to talk about Audible books.
No, before the juicy rant, I have to pee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You go
sure.
pee, and then I will talk about my Audible book, and she'll talk about. Okay. All right.
Oh, sure.
Oh shit! Do I have a book? Go pee. This is a live podcast. We can't edit it. Okay. What book? Oh yeah. Lately, I've been listening to. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but it's fuck, shit. I don't know. I forgot what the name of it. Oh, The Burning Sky. It's written by a woman who usually does romance novels. Speaking of pink things, and she decided she wanted to write a fantasy novel. It's about an elemental mage. Oh yeah, I already did talk about this. Tess, do you have a book? I'm getting nervous because this is live.
Oh gosh, I don't listen to Audible books that much. I just have books that I
read them with your eyes.
Yeah. I'm a loser like that. I want an Audible like kind of subscription, but I think you have to like pay for the subscription, then you have to like pay for the books, which is just like.
No, that's not how it works. Okay,
no?
So you for the Geek Remix trial, you get one free book.
Okay.
And then you pay a monthly fee, and that monthly fee will give you a free a book every month.
Oh,
No,
wow.
Oh, wait. Okay, Stacey, explain it.
Oh, my goodness. I leave for 30 seconds.
And it's all gone to shit.
Okay. So, when you go to audibletrial.com/geekremix, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial, which includes a free book.
Uh-huh.
If you then decide to get a membership, you can either pay for a membership that gets you 2 free books, like 2 books a month, or 1 book a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have
That's
to pay
what it
for
is.
it on top.
You don't pay for the trial.
Oh, cool. Wow. You guys, that sounds like a really great deal. Audible.com/geekremix.
Audible trial.
Audible trial.
Wow. Oh my god. I think I'm going to sign up right now.
Well, and the nice thing about it is that for anybody that, like, it's a free trial, so, like, you can sign up and listen to a free book.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Scammed.
it. So
Scammed.
if all you want is a free book, then go for it.
Yeah, scammed.
So,
Yeah.
did you tell them about a book?
I was telling about a book, but then I realized halfway through that I was still talking about the same series I did last time.
Oh, okay. Wait, was it Cruel Crown?
No.
Oh, okay.
What's Cruel Crown?
That's Glass Sword and Red
Oh, that's
Queen.
the name of the series? No, last time I
No,
talked about
that's-
The Burning Sky.
No, that's the 3rd book. And this,
Is it out?
not the 3rd book. It's like that. You didn't read it? It's like the. Okay.
Oh, the prequel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you
Cruel.
read the
I haven't
prequel?
read the prequel. I have it on my phone though. Is it juicy?
So something to keep in mind. So, shut up, Siri. Shut up. Okay, so Cruel Crown is like the prequel. It contains 2 stories. One is Corianne,
that was the queen before
the queen
the queen that gave
that
birth
was
to
Cal's mom,
to Cal. Yeah, okay.
and then Captain Farley.
I thought you were gonna say fart.
Captain Fart. It's a new character we haven't met yet. It's Captain Fart.
Oh, by the way, everyone keeps asking me about this. The name of the book where the princess is what I would call, to simplify it, a trans woman princess.
Oh, yes.
Is The Bone Dolls Twin. It's on Audible. You can get it for 1 credit. It's the first book of the Tamir trilogy. I'm gonna type it. The Bone Dolls Twin. I get asked about this all the time. It's called The Bone Dolls Twin. This girl is born. All the women in her family are murdered because it's a mother-to-daughter queendom, I should say. And one of the sons...
It's a matriarchy.
It's a matriarchy queendom. And so one of the guys kills all the women in the family except for his sister. And she gives birth to twins. And they don't kill the boy twin, but they were going to make it so he was never alive. But they fucked it up. So now he's a ghost. And they give her his body. So she grows up inside of her brother's body. But she's a woman. And eventually... And she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that she's actually a woman. She thinks that she's a boy. And she has feelings of being a girl. And she has to grow up like that. And also one day she has to become the queen and a warrior queen. Because she's one of the warrior queens. That's what they were called. Warrior queens.
Well.
Bone Dolls Twin.
Okay, I just looked this up while you guys were talking, and I found a book that I had read, but that I really liked, and it is available on audiobooks. So,
fuck yeah. What is it?
It's called Evil Genius. It's written by Katherine Jenks. And do you guys know those kinds of books about, like, oh, this is like in a school for like special people or whatever?
Yes.
So this one is
a school for mutants.
It's a school for evil people. And they train them to become evil geniuses.
Oh my god.
And it's so God, I'm trying not to spoil it, but it does not turn out the way that you think. Like it pitches you the premise of like an evil genius school, and then it like really runs with it. So like everyone in the school is evil, and they're trying to kill each other all the time. And it's just it's a fun read. It's a fun read.
God.
Yeah.
That
so I
sounds
enjoyed
awesome.
that one. Yeah, I enjoyed that one, and I think you guys will like it.
So, what I have been reading this past week is the book Willful Child, which is by Steven Erikson. So, Willful Child is a parody of Star Trek, and it is hilarious. It's like, there's so many like little things that they make fun of Star Trek for, but it's actually like, it's a good story to listen to.
It's like a fan fiction.
Like, you know how some parodies, it's like a one-trick pony. Once you get over the joke, then the rest of it's not interesting. This is like, it keeps making fun of things the whole time, and I would laugh about things like while I was on the train listening to it, and then I'd be like, oh my god, that's so funny, and then I'd be like, wow, the fact that I know why that's funny.
Really? Subspace tech. Right.
Really?
Idiot.
Oh, you mean... Really?
That's not how the warp drive works, Worf. You idiot.
Or like I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, oh, you mean he got his command of the starship by, solving the Mishimashi paradox?
What a fucking idiot. He thinks that she's 100% Betazoid. Oh, what an idiot. Everyone knows she's half. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to read your thoughts, you fool.
It's not that kind of parody. It's more like making references and jokes to things, but it's set in a different universe. So they have like different aliens. They have like these. Oh my god! It's like they have like entirely different aliens and like the crew. Like for instance, when he meets the chief engineer, he's like, "Oh, like how nice to meet you! I can't wait to hear your frantic screams from engineering." And the engineer's like, "What?" Never mind. Anyways. And the lead character is written to sound like, basically to be like James T. Kirk.
Hello.
So
babes.
So he's like kind of a douchebag, but he's like a fun and enjoyable douchebag to listen to. Anyways.
What's the name of the book?
So it's Willful Child by Steven Erikson. And the Willful Child is the name of his ship.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Rad.
So, good stuff.
Oh yeah, Tess wanted to complain more.
Yeah, rant.
I'm so ready for it.
Sure, right. So, y'all, the lesson today is don't fucking mansplain or interrupt somebody when they're really excited and trying to tell you about something.
Oh, yeah, because Tess, she was so mad, and she was telling me, I thought it was the coolest shit I'd ever heard in my life. And she was so excited that I cared.
Yeah. Because, like, I had a good friend, this person is
past tense.
Yeah. he's no longer among the living. He's still a good friend, you know, he just didn't know what he was doing, but it, like, really pissed me off. Because, so, let me talk about this. I didn't mention this before, but when I was talking about the game Hawaii High Mystery of the Tiki, and it's referenced as the first pink game post the crash, I was really excited about this because the game that sort of cites this, called Barbie versus Mortal Kombat, I've mentioned it previously, cited this woman as Trina Roberts. But her actual name was Trina Robbins. And so, yeah, so I was the person who kind of discovered who she was, and, like, the book just cites her, like, really, really wrong. It said that she, like, invented Wonder Woman, which is not true. Wonder Woman was invented by this guy who was, like, obsessed with S&M.
1920.
Yeah.
Is she like a Highlander? Does she live forever? Like, what?
Yeah, but anyway, she's cited as Trina Roberts, but her name was actually Trina Robbins. So I found her, I tracked her down. No, I found her and I sent her an email, and she agreed to go on sort of like an interview. So this summer I'm going to be interviewing her at Comic-Con, and we're going to put that up on the Famicom Museum, and that's going to be really, really exciting. And she's just going to tell us about her experience creating Hawaii High Mystery of the Tiki, which is a story that nobody's gotten in 16 years, all because of a typo.
Can you imagine she's like alone, sitting in the dark, being like, nobody cares, and then she gets a call from you.
Oh, no. That's not true at all, but because
it's 100% true.
Well, she's like super, super famous in the comic book industry. She's like a huge person in the comic book industry. But not a lot of people know about her contribution to the video game industry, which is a real shame.
Mari's like, I've never heard of her. She's not famous. She's sitting in the dark.
She's sitting in the dark.
All right,
I don't
she's
take
sitting in the dark.
Game seriously. I'm a monster.
Sitting in the dark, weeping silent tears. You know, she says, "I'm going to Comic-Con." She kisses all of her cats. Packs their bags and just gets out of there.
Because today I'm going out. You won't see me for at least 2 days. How do you feel about that, Fluffy? We're going places.
Me. Cat walks away, like, whatever.
Oh, yeah. She's, like, doing, like, a musical number, and it's, like, a cat just, like, licking its ass in the background. Anyway.
For Buttersworth, I'm going.
It'll be, like, her own version of, like, Good Morning Baltimore.
Yeah. But with cats.
With cats. I'm going to Comic-Con. She's dancing around. All the cats start dancing.
Yeah. The cats don't want to dance, though.
They don't want to dance.
They don't want to dance.
They all look really grumpy about it.
They're tied to strings. They
you
hate
guys,
it.
Cats don't dance. Anyway, so this was a discovery that was huge for me. I discovered this at midnight in my friend's college dorm. It's just the two of us. I'm with my programmer, Salty. He helps me create sort of like an emulator for DOS, because DOSBox, the regular emulator DOSBox couldn't run the game, so he had to do some programming voodoo shit. So we're all sitting there at midnight looking at the credits of this game.
I'm imagining this as if you're in the movie Hackers.
Yeah, it was very similar.
Whatever's happening on the screen is being projected onto your face.
Yeah. Yeah. How did they not go blind shooting those scenes, honestly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. I dropped Salty. My programmer's name is Salty.
Yeah. No, that's his real name.
That's his real name. He was born, they looked at his face and like, that's a salty boy, and that's his name. Yeah. But right, so so we're working on it, and it was like super exciting. It was like a real it felt like journalism, it felt like adventure. Shit was happening. So
felt like journalism.
Yeah, you were uncovering some shit.
Yeah. Like I discovered something about history a history that I was excited about, and, you know, it felt really, really fun. And so I'm on Twitter, I'm talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, you guys, I made this incredible discovery, da-da-da-da-da. And one of my friends is like, well, you got to tell me about the discovery. It's like, well, it has to do with the history of girls' games. And this is when I knew I was in trouble. He's like,
boy.
oh, well, why don't you tell me about it? Because I'm a big history buff. Maybe I can tell you more.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Red flag. Red fucking flag.
Red fucking flag.
Yeah.
And that is the last time I saw him, officer.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm telling him about it, and oh God, I'm getting the shakes just thinking about this. So
she's angry.
Wow.
She's so mad that she's shaking.
yeah. So I didn't even get, so like I'm studying the Pink Games movement. I'm telling him about this, and I was like, so the first Pink game ever made was called Hawaii High Mystery of the Tiki, and that was
Did he say actually?
That was all that I had to say. That was all that I had to say. And for 2 hours, the first word was like, well, actually.
Oh, no.
And then for 2 hours, he just talked about all these other games that were, by his definition, pink games.
What were they?
And, well, he did bring up some interesting things, but he just was, like, so off. Okay, one of them, which I'm actually researching, is called Nappletail, which is not the first Pink game. It came out in, like, 2000 or whatever.
Oh,
and it was
my God.
cast, but it's actually a cool game because it was developed by an all-female team, which it was very, very rare back in those days. And I want to look it up, but it was never ported to the United States, and it's for the Sega Dreamcast, so I'm probably going to have to learn. I'm learning Japanese currently, just so that I can play, you know, old games that haven't been ported and, you know, be able to talk to people who made those games. That's kind of my goal right now.
I just want to point out that Katamari Damacy just made me roll up God, and then it was a woman, so.
Oh, righteous.
So, just pointing that out. Anyway, continue.
So yeah, he goes, well, actually, and rants about it for like 2 hours. And I'm just like sitting there and Pyrosaurus, fuck you, man. Sorry. Anyway.
Pyrosaurus says, I'm starting to think Tess is salty.
That was a good one. Good one. So he just rants about it for 2 hours, and I didn't even get to the story of the exciting discovery that I had made, because he was so obsessed with having to be right and having to prove me wrong. And then he was like, so what did you want to, like, I tried to be like passive aggressive about it, you know, and just be like, oh yeah, I was like, oh well, it's really great that you told me, you know. And he was like,
Thanks
oh,
a
I'm
lot.
sorry. Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like intrusive or whatever. And then he kept talking. And then so I'm sitting there, and by the time he finally like fucking shuts up, and he's like, well, what did you want to tell me? Or he's like, is that what you wanted to tell me? And I was like, yep, that's all I found. You were right. You know, I was like, my discovery was that it was the first game, which that was not the discovery because it was written in a book, history book. And I just left it there, and, you know, so I was like, no, that's it, that's the story. And I didn't tell him the story because fuck that guy. But we're friends now. Your Honor. Still
friends. Yeah. Do you know how he's doing? I haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
I don't know. He said he was going to Canada. I don't know.
Yeah. I heard he withdrew a lot of money from his bank account, you know, a few days.
For the trip. And that was just really upsetting. And it just occurred to me, like, he was a friend. He wasn't like an ignorant person or anything. And it just like one of those experiences that I had where I was like, I can never talk about this at a panel. I could never talk about this at some kind of an official event, because I'd be so terrified of somebody like standing up to me and in front of everyone being like, well, actually, da-da-da-da, this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, again, like if I got a date wrong or something in my presentation, that someone would be so obliged to be like, well, actually, yeah, I just,
Yeah.
fuck, just let people talk, man.
Don't worry, I get that same anxiety whenever I make a video about anything where I'm like, no, it has to be absolutely perfect because there will be people who just discredit me. It doesn't happen as much anymore because I've built up a pretty good reputation.
So
but
powerful.
Still. Huh? What?
You're powerful. You can take care of anybody who
Yeah, I have
opposes
connections.
you.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're like our own little mob over here.
Yes.
We can take care of them. You know, send them on a nice trip.
Yeah. Down the river. No,
Down the river.
Send a Katamari after him.
Send a few, tie a few catamaris to their ankles and make them go wading in the river.
Turn them into
Really?
Stardust, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So that was my rant. So thank you for listening to
Well, you are welcome to talk about all that stuff here because we
love to complain.
we don't expect everybody to be exact on dates. I mean,
Facts.
I'm just saying, like, as long as we don't purport to be like a historical, textbook.
Right.
As long as you get like your facts basically straight,
Actually,
Right.
it was 1993,
Yeah.
not 5.
Yeah.
when
That's why I'm really passionate about this subject, and I'm really happy. Like, I think this is probably the only place where I'd really be able to talk about it, or let loose about it in any capacity, because I know that you guys are like super chill and you're not gonna be like dicks about it. So, thank you for
What are we
that.
going to do? No, you're wrong, Tess. We don't know
Yeah.
anything about it. All we know is that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. I think if I were ever to do this at a panel or something, I don't think that I ever would. But, like, if anybody ever tries to correct me, I'm just looking them in the eye and be like, can you cite your source, please, sir? Can you cite your sources there? I don't know.
You'd be like, actually, I'm a professor of video games. Shit!
Yeah. Well, I need to see some degrees. Need to see your degree? I don't know. Yeah, but anyway. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? I've been talking this whole podcast. I don't know.
Do we have any news?
So Mari and I were talking about this on the way over here, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of input on this because I don't think I played any pink games and therefore don't know anything
But we know how
them.
to yell about men. We're just kidding. We don't hate men. Well, I don't know.
Although, I did play, as people have probably heard me mention this on the podcast before, I used to be, like, obsessed with Fashion Story, like, obsessed with it, like, would be hanging out with people and ignore them to play the game on my phone instead.
I was glad that I was able to talk about how I've internalized a lot of the whole, like, am I a real gamer? Like, who gives a shit?
Remember when we first started recording stuff and you would have to tell me that all the time?
Yeah. And I'd be like, Stacey, there's literally thousands of hours of proof.
Yeah.
But, a lot of the, so a lot of the overall analytical things that I say, I'm glad that I'm like this now. I'm happy that I am because basically I gained something positive from adversity. But the reason why, like, a lot of my videos are so in-depth where they have so much information is because I don't want to be questioned. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but they will question a female YouTuber a lot more about video games than they will about a guy. They just will. So I always have that in my mind when I'm making a video where I'm like, no, I'm going to be questioned of this. Like, it just happens more. So I need to have every single little bit covered where I think there's going to be this question. I can't be like, no, they're going to give me the benefit of the doubt. I have to be like, I need to cover this. I need to explain why this is like this. And any counterpoint to that I need to have. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely such bias. I'm not going to say that, like, women are, like, inherently, like, better at these things, but I do know for a fact that, like, women in this industry and who are streamers and Let's Players have to push themselves to be, like, just a cut above everybody else, just because...
And it's not because women are better. It's because...
They're pressured. To be considered equal, they actually have to be better. which is ridiculous.
And I'm not saying that women are smarter or better or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in order to make it, you're going to have this like weird psychological thing where you always feel like you have to be the best, otherwise you're the worst.
Well, the same could be said of a lot of different, that could be applied to a lot of different areas. Like, the quality of a person's work, if they're like, if they come from a group of people that is normally cut out of that area, they will work that much harder.
And then they'll have imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the opposite true for men too. Is if you were to do a presentation and a guy were to stand up and be like, actually it's this, and this, he could be lying. But the fact that he is a man, everyone would just assume that he was right and you were wrong. Like it's very internalized, you know.
I internalize it a lot. Yeah. Where I feel like I'm always going to be questioned. I'm always going to be told I'm wrong, and I have to have every single point touched. You know, otherwise it all falls apart. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Feels good. Feels good to bitch. This is welcome to the bitch stream. Yeah. We're not bitches. We're just bitching.
Welcome to the bitch cast.
Yeah. I hope that some guys listened to this and didn't go, wow, they love to complain, but rather went, they're complaining a lot because of this. You know? Mm-hmm. It feels good.
For sure. I don't hate guys, obviously. This is kind of like a weird place to bring it up, but I think I identify more gender-wise with males and females. I'm definitely kind of in that in-between zone. So I always try to look at it from both perspectives. So I don't think that guys are, like, horrible people. Like, don't get that impression from me.
90% of guys, awesome. Yeah. And it's just that, like, guys don't usually get to see what it is to be treated like that, so then when you tell them what it feels like, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, I've never seen it. I'm like, yeah, because you're a guy, like, why would you see it? You're not there, like.
I know. Well, it's like, sometimes people have to work harder to see things through the lens of somebody who doesn't have their privilege.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's plenty of guys who have shitty experiences with women in industries that they want to be in, but women dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and relating to the subject, if you're a guy and you want to help women out, like, first of all, give legitimacy to games that you think are dumb, like pink games and stuff. Even if, like, silly Flash games about pregnancy on Flash, you know, you should consider every game as valuable. And hire more women. That's very important.
As much as I like to make fun of those games that are Flash games where it's like you're an EMT, like, or whatever, you gotta take into consideration that they're having the little girl playing as an EMT, even if it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Or like when they had, like Elsa at the dentist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, maybe there's a girl out there who loves Frozen and wants to be a dentist. You know, you don't know.
I know, it's like really fucking weird, but at the same time, like, you know, that's that's like cool. You know,
I do think that those games they're either developed as jokes or they're developed maybe by I know that a lot of them are developed in like Hong Kong and Taiwan and by people who may not even understand that it's like weird over here. I don't know, but the Flash game movement is really interesting because there was kind of the dress-up movement. Oh, I didn't talk about the dress-up movement. But, I mean, any type of character customization that you have in games is absolutely attributed to girl games, you know? It wasn't all about dressing up just for dressing up's sake was definitely from the pink games movement. And dress-up games there's an article on Kotaku, which I don't 100% agree with, because the person just starts up like, dress-up games are shit, but here's how important they are. I'm just like, dress-up games are important, and they're not shit. They're not shit to everybody.
Well, it's also, like, doesn't have to be great for everybody. Also, there are actual children that play games.
Yeah. No, they don't. So all games are for adult men.
Oh my god.
When you play your first game, you start like growing pubes. Like that's like the rite of passage. As soon as you finish a game, you are a full-grown adult. And you should be tried as an adult in court.
One thing about Nintendo games is like people always complain about Nintendo games being like, why is it like this? I'm like, because it's for children. Nintendo makes games for children. You're an afterthought. Deal with it.
Yeah. You are not the target market.
For Nintendo games. The end! You're not them.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, dress-up games are, I mean, they got their start in kind of like Flash and browser-based type of things. Like those really, like, that was a huge, huge female market because, you know, you didn't have to own a console, number one, so you didn't have to spend money. A lot of the games were free. And you could kind of play them in privacy, I guess is a way of saying it. Like there was just sort of this space where a lot of guys didn't really go into because they were playing their own games or whatever. And so, yeah, there was a huge, like, dress-up games boom, I want to say, in the early 2000s, where there were just whole sites with just dress-up games. And they still kind of exist today, but they're not quite as popular, but...
Yeah, we found one of them, remember?
Which ones?
The one with all the, like...
The disturbing ones, where it was like a spa, but it looked like we were dressing up a dead body?
Well, there was that, and remember, also, we dressed up the Royals. Remember?
Oh yeah, they're all very disturbing, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, people are talking about Mitomo.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it.
I love Mitomo. I just wish there was more to do. Like,
yeah.
What Infinite Nine is saying, it needs more room decorating, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure that they're going to implement it. Like, it looks like it was built to be ready for that. So yeah,
I want more stuff to do in the day so I can gain more money and buy cool outfits. Because every day there's a new cool outfit that I want, but those are the dailies, and I can't. Dude,
are you allowed to? I thought that it was like, can't you like pay real money for like outfits or something?
No, I haven't found. There's no microtransactions.
Oh, really? I was sure that they were like setting that up because
if they're setting it up, I'm gonna go broke.
Yeah.
I'll have no money.
Yeah. No, I was looking at it because they've just built it like it should be for microtransactions. You just get like a hilariously low amount of money for everything you do. I'm sure they're going to implement it at some point. They're probably going to do an update. It's going to have room decorating and microtransactions or something like that. I don't know. I wish you could just post status updates without having to answer a fucking question. Do you know what I mean?
Stacy says she wants a pet. I like that idea.
Yeah, I want to have a pet.
Oh my god, pets!
If I had a pet, then I would never leave.
Yeah.
Look at AJ stretching underneath his blanket.
Yeah.
He's so cute. AJ's on the podcast too.
Hooray! I love dogs. Dogs are great.
Dogs are better than cats.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm absolutely oh shit. Okay, if you guys go on Twitter and you look up like cat lamp accident or whatever, there's a video that's been floating around of like these three little girls these blonde girls who are just doing some kind of a hair tutorial or whatever. And in the background, their cat gets into the lamp, electrocutes itself, screams, and like the lamp falls over. The cat's fine. But it's the funniest thing. And like the girls are like traumatized. And they're just like, and the cat's like, and it's just like, then the lamp falls over. That's when I really lost it. And so the owner of the video, like the person who took the video, like tweeted a second later that like the cat's fine. And it's like a photo of the cat and it looked dead. It looks dead. But then, but later they posted and the cat was like up and about. But it looked like the cat was dead and they had like posed it on a sofa. But anyway.
No, it's fine.
It was so funny.
We're weekend burying the cat.
I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard.
Oh my god. Fantastic.
Did you guys, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Tess made this awesome gif of AJ staring at my burrito. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's the best gif I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Hi, AJ.
Right. So, yeah. What, do you guys have video game news? I haven't been keeping up at all, actually.
There hasn't been anything happening. Just
bummer.
Dark Souls 3 came out, and I'm like, cool. It's not a pink game, I don't think. It does have customization and female characters where actually, Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne, they all have armor that is not gendered, I guess I would say.
Cool.
Where gender neutral?
You know how when everyone always talks about armor, they're like, it's impractical to have boob bumps because it makes the sword go up or down into your important organs. So they just don't have it. They just like, you can be a woman, but it doesn't matter because all the armor is like chunky.
Yeah.
If you guys
also
want
the integrity of the armor.
Yeah.
If you guys want a game that has kind of like the Pink Games kind of aesthetic, but it's like stupid hard, I would recommend Wings of Vi. That one's a really, really pretty game, and it's like all of the protagonists are like these girls in little cute outfits and stuff, but it's I hear it's like impossible to play. It was made by one of the guys who made one of the I Want to Be the Guy games, which is like this community of people who just make impossible levels. So, and I hear it's really, really popular. But that's one of the few games that's like genuinely challenging, that's like pink and girly, but they do it in kind of an unironic way, I guess. That's kind of rare.
Shit, that shit looks cash, dude.
Yeah.
It's an angel that's purple. Oh my god, that looks hardcore.
Yeah.
Sweet. I don't want this podcast now. I want to keep hearing sassy Tess stories where she's not admitting to murder.
Oh. I don't know how this ends up, but all of my friends make jokes that I'm secretly a murderer. Like, it always ends up...
All of your friends, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
one of the ones that are left?
Yeah.
Are you hearing this laugh, dude?
I know.
It's like, ha, 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 ha. Like, it's an evil laugh.
This is like zoom in on the supervillain as they're laughing with their hands turned up. And
Yes, that's literally what I'm imagining Tess doing right now.
Oh my God.
She's like, they all say I'm a murderer.
Oh my God. No, I'm ashamed of my laugh.
What if
No,
Tess is like
don't
the
be
Mr.
ashamed.
Jefferson of the Geek remix story?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's like...
Where we wake up and she's like, yes, I use games to immortalize the people I love. And you're like, shit. What? Yes, now you'll be in Charminxie forever. What?
Mr. Jefferson's a creepy pedophile. Why? What?
I was planning an animation. This is kind of... I was planning an I don't remember, like, one podcast, you guys were, like, arguing about avocados or something.
Oh, my God.
And you, like, you made a joke about, like, oh, well, I'll go with the avocado eaters and start my own podcast. And I've been cutting up the audio, and I had a scene planned out where I'm listening, and I, like, stand up, and I get, like, the photo, like, a photo of you and Stacy, and I, like, crudely, like, stick my face over Stacy's face. Anyway.
Psychotic, like.
But
Yeah.
do you eat just like avocados by themselves?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Why do people do that?
I don't
Because
eat it.
it's
I don't
good.
eat it
It's
like
like
an
mayonnaise by
apple or
itself.
anything, but I like shell it and I just
An avocado and mayonnaise are two very different things. One is a fruit, the other is a thing that white people eat.
No, they're both fat. They're both just
They're
like
not just
a
fat, Stacey.
spread.
No, avocados are not just fat. Have you ever actually looked up the contents of an avocado?
It's got like 3 grams of protein.
you flip over an avocado and the nutritional information.
Yeah. Have you ever
Exact-
looked at it, man?
Yes.
I like avocados. They're good for you. They taste good. I'm gonna eat them. I don't care what kind of food shame you put on me. I'm gonna eat them the way I
I'm not
like
saying it's
them.
food shame. I'm just saying that's why I'd never eat
Every
it by
word
itself.
she just said was food shame.
Well, it's like, you don't put fruit on chips. You put, like, dip on chips.
I put
It's a
fruit on
dip.
chips. Don't tell me how to eat my food.
It's a dip.
Don't tell. No, guacamole is a dip.
It's the same thing.
Is strawberries grinded up with honey a dip? Or
Yeah,
guess
that's
it
you
could
spread
be.
for ice cream.
exactly. So when you're eating strawberries, are you eating an ice cream spread?
Oh my God, Mari. It's the same ingredients, though.
I don't
To be
care.
fair,
I will not be
avocado
avocado shamed.
it's
I
supposed
don't
to be
like my
kind of
avocado
a-
kink
Okay,
shame.
you're shouting. Stop.
Avocado
putting
is
up with
kind of
this
a
for
mayonnaise
because 90
substitute. I know a lot of
minutes.
people use it as a mayonnaise substitute.
Yes, it's a mayonnaise
But
substitute.
but I do eat avocados just raw, so I don't know.
Exactly.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, sorry. I think I'm a Mexican though, so like I've kind of like grown up with avocados, and I don't know if like a lot of people, but I eat tomatoes like an apple. That's like a Mexico thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Raphael.
I don't know. It's so funny because, Mari, you try to, like, you're like, no, like, how I eat food is totally normal, but, like, everything that you eat is, like, I'm not saying that what you eat is not normal, but you embrace your inner food desire. I wouldn't put you on the spectrum of, like, you know, I eat what everybody else eats. It's like, you just eat whatever you want, which is fine.
I want to eat an avocado. What is this? What is this?
She drinks pickle juice.
Yeah, I do. My boyfriend drinks pickle juice too.
It's
I want
fine.
to eat. I want to have it, so I'm gonna drink it.
Oh boy. I've drunk pickle juice before, but like I always feel like ashamed of myself afterwards. I always feel like I made a horrible mistake. Because I don't know what it is about pickle juice, but maybe it's like the vinegar, but like it just like stays with you for like 2 days. Like your finger, you just like smell like a pickle for 2 days.
I like vinegar.
Yeah.
I like vinegar flavors.
I'm gonna be completely honest.
I'm drooling now because I want it.
I know. I've never had a pickle.
Oh, you've never had a pickle?
Never had a pickle.
Oh, do you not like the smell?
Don't like the smell.
Okay.
Wait, okay. Like you've never put like a pickle in your mouth, or you've never just had like a whole pickle? Like what are you talking about?
Are we still talking about food?
Oh, I think we
are. I think so.
Okay. No, I've never, like, they smell gross. Like, I've never had tuna salad. I've never had a pickle.
Mari, Stacy, what?
They smell disgusting. Why would I eat it?
Cheese smells disgusting.
That's different.
Pussy smells.
Ew! What kind of pussy
I'm just
are
joking.
you eating?
It's a joke.
I'm still talking
Sex
about food.
Joke.
No.
Mari's pussy shaming.
Pussy shaming. Yeah, but whatever. I mean, if I want to eat salmon roe out of the can, I'm gonna do it.
So I'm not saying that it's like, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that it's different.
It is different.
I'm just saying that there's like
I
probably
refuse to be avocado shamed.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that there's probably a smaller set of people that do eat avocados whole.
Yeah.
I disagree because the other day I saw Survival Lily peel an avocado, which I had never seen before. She peeled it and then took a bite out of it, and I was like, what? And she's in some place that's not Germany, but is close to it.
I bet there's a ton of people that do it. I'm just saying.
If Survival Lily does it, then I'm on the right side.
Oh. Throwing down the gauntlet, huh?
Yeah. I'm dividing the line between avocado eaters
and not avocado eaters.
avocado eaters.
Yeah. I'm like, I can be picky though about like, if I'll eat, like, for instance, like, I'll eat this thing, but only with certain other things.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't call you picky. I would call you somebody who has high standards.
High standards.
You have high standards because you don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste the flavor. You're not going to... I don't know you as somebody who eats something because you need to eat something. You want to eat it and fucking love it.
I mean, there are, like, without getting into, like, the reasons why, there are, like, reasons why I am that way.
Well, you just don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste that. You want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm here to have a good time. Just
sorry, Eggs and Mint. This started as a gaming podcast.
Yeah.
Now it's apparently...
If avocados and food is not part of gaming, then I don't know what life you're living.
There needs to be more, like, food games that aren't about, like, preparing food, if that makes sense. Like,
Mama.
Oh, yeah, Cooking Mama is a pink game. I guess that's kind of relevant.
Well.
Did very well. And then we've seen... Oh, God. Have you guys seen... Fuck, who did it? VG Cats was such a... I laughed. It was like an old video games webcomic. And it's Cooking Mama...
I used to watch... You know what I mean.
Yeah. She, like, presented to, like, a board of directors, like, Executive Mama, Doctor Mama, Lawyer Mama. You remember that one? And
yes, I do. I don't remember the punchline, though. And they were,
next panel is her crying, like, stirring, like, a cake batter with, like, a black eye.
Oh, God, that's sad.
But, like, true, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they wouldn't allow her to be anything else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, I remember that got dark. Geek Remix fans are gonna be mad. Everyone run! Run! Playing Kingdom... Okay, Satire Witch is mad that we're not playing Kingdom Hearts 2, but we're actually playing Katamari Damacy. Actually, You're bitching about random social justice warrior stuff and
Food
food shaming.
shaming?
Yeah.
I'm not food shaming.
Okay. She shamed my avocados.
I feel like telling somebody that something they do is different is not shaming them.
I'm going to eat my avocados until the day... Actually,
I'm not saying that they make you... Oh
I would have been ambivalent about avocados. I probably would have stopped eating avocados by now. But because Stacy said, "What? What are you doing?" I was like, I'm never going to stop doing this.
I've never seen somebody eat them plain like that.
And I'm going to do it until the day that
but
I
you know
die.
what? I could probably say that about a lot of the things that you eat.
What? Drinking pickle juice?
That I've never seen somebody do that until I met you.
Oh, okay. What? What else do I eat? That's weird.
No, pickle juice or like, I've never seen somebody eat caviar out of a jar.
Well, yeah, because it's good.
Yeah, but I've
Tastes
only
good.
ever had it on sushi. That's
Oh,
all.
the salmon roe? Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't have any rice, so I just wanted to eat it.
Oh, why are we still talking about avocados?
Because I refuse to back down on my avocado agenda. The agenda today, who you're going to vote for? Somebody who doesn't support the avocado agenda? Okay. Well, that was the avocado podcast.
Yes.
Episode 9 or 10. What are we on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I asked the chat if they had any questions about pink games. I don't know, just to see if I can try to maybe...
Questions about pink games.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody asked me if I'm trying to get away from the topic of avocados, so yes. No. I really regret having brought it up. Yeah.
No, everyone's just talking about
avocados.
Yeah, now they're arguing about avocados.
How would you define a pink game?
Oh, great. Okay. Well, that's a good question because really pink games have been defined in general as something that the industry doesn't take seriously. Like that's really the only thing that kind of links all pink games. But the pink game, I think, is kind of misleading because it's about a specific movement that happened in the early 90s and kind of trailed off, I think, at around the end of the early 2000s. So it's you can call it a pink game, really, but it's probably something that is appealing to the pink aesthetic, frilly and girly and stuff. But it's really it's not a genre. It's definitely not a genre. It's just more of like a grouping in it, grouping that you want to contribute it with. So nowadays, the idea of a pink game is, it can be all over the place. I would say that a really good example of probably like a modern styled pink game is, oh God, have you guys ever played, I know you guys have played Long Live the Queen on your stream.
Of course.
Yeah. Hanako Games, they do a lot of really cool stuff, and I'd say like that's a really good kind of modern pink game. I've spoken with the developer of Hanako Games, and she doesn't market it specifically to girls, but she was inspired by like early anime and things like that. So, yeah.
Sorry. Were you done? Because I have another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Stathicus asks, if I was going to go buy a pink game right now, which one should I buy?
Does Viva Pinata count?
It does not. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, but that's a great one. I could also do, oh God, if you guys ever have me back, I'd love to do something on like games with Mexico because damn.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay, I would recommend Hanako Games. Absolutely 100%. They have excellent stuff. I would also check out for the DS. There was this game called Pop Cutie. And Famicom Games mentions this as well. It's about it's like a fashion simulator, but it's very strategic. Like you can design your own fashion and things, but basically you actually play as like a fashion designer. So you go out into the street and you look at what people are wearing and you're like, oh, this is a trend. A lot of people like wearing yellow clothes. A lot of people like wearing this skirt. And you kind of have to make it to sort of tend to that. So it's a really interesting fashion simulation. It was for the Nintendo DS. And it's, it's around there. So I would really recommend that. Historically, it's a very interesting game. Let's see, other pink games. Trimexy Witch Academy when it comes out.
Long Live the Queen one.
Yeah, that's what she was
yeah.
talking about. So
Long Live the Queen I would recommend. Yeah. Or Magical Diary. Well, actually, I would say don't play Magical Diary unless you really want to get fucked over. I'm going to give a trigger warning, which is a bit of a spoiler right now. But Magical Diary is basically a domestic abuse simulator, if that makes sense.
Oh,
shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, I'm trying not to spoil it right now, but the game sets you up as like it's a cute dating game or whatever, and you go through this relationship, and at the end you realize that you have been playing through what it feels like to be in a relationship with an abuser. And that was
my
really,
God.
yeah, it was a really powerful moment for me. But it's a very interesting game. But it also has like some other cool relationships. It's not just that, but one of the storylines is fantastically written. But anyway.
Yeah, so if you Google Hanako Games, you can go to their website. They have like Black Closet, Sword Daughter, The Royal Trap, Long Live the Queen, Magical Diary, a bunch of others. Yeah,
she makes incredibly awesome games. Also, I would recommend checking out some kind of search and find games, or like Nancy Drew games. Those are like played exclusively by housewives, and it's like a huge market, but like the video game industry has completely ignored it. There's a really fascinating extra credits episode that was made about it. And so if you're kind of looking for something a little alternative, but basically there's like a sort of niche market that's been developing alongside the video game industry for a really long time. And it's just been kind of growing. It's kind of awesome. So yeah, that's kind of, yeah. Let's see. Are there any, there was somebody asking about are games with gay characters and trans characters along with other minorities associated with the pink game movement, or is it only for women? Okay, I would like to answer that one because that's kind of important. In the 1950s to the 2000s, pink games were designed just for girls. But now that gender is kind of like this more fluid concept in society, not necessarily like actuality, like, obviously there were trans people.
Concept in society.
Yeah. There were trans people obviously in the 1990s, like we didn't invent it. But like now that it's more of like a mainstream kind of thing, pink games do not have to be associated with, people who are cisgendered. I would not say that there are a lot of pink games out there that have trans characters, but I don't think that it's necessarily impossible for that to be the case. I think pink games nowadays, as I said when I was defining it, has more to do with an aesthetic and a feel than anything else.
Would you say it has to do with the concept of feminine things more than to have to do with
the concept of femininity? Yeah. So I mean, you could be playing as a boy who has an interest in feminine things, and that's perfectly valid.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of girls like masculine shit. Lots of boys like feminine shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I have to say there are not a lot of games that have that. So I got to be honest, but if you'd like to get into games, that's certainly something that you can do. I know that personally, Charmixy, I've made a pretty big effort, not to brag or anything, but I'm trying to put trans characters in the game. I'm trying to put characters of different diversity, in the game so that everybody has something, but it's still very much within the pink games aesthetic.
So, femininity and gender, like it doesn't have.
Yeah, they are.
Femininity and gender are two things.
They are two separate things.
Yeah,
sure.
So like, so feminine and masculine traits, those are
society things.
Society created those things, and
they're both awesome, but you don't need to obey those laws.
Yeah, and they were originally created as like traits that society, quote unquote, saw correlated with each gender. But of course, as Tess was saying, now that gender is like a more fluid understanding, we still have these terms like, is it feminine or is it masculine? But it doesn't necessarily mean that those things are for girls or those things are for boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really just that we don't have other terms to use to describe, something that is feminine or masculine.
Yeah. Well, we have the word feminine or masculine, but they, like within the word, it has. It's
Yes.
implied. The gender is kind of implied in there, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to think of, because this is very much my aesthetic, and it's describes games that I want to make in my life in the future. I've been trying to think of some kind of way to describe that aesthetic without necessarily putting, some people have mentioned like pastel or something like that, or frilly, something like that, without saying girly or something like that necessarily.
Somebody just asked, it just went up in the chat. They want to know how to deal with people who don't like Life is Strange but glorify The Walking Dead, even though it's basically the same, but Life is Strange is better mechanically and everything.
Well, I have a bit of a controversial point of view on this, because I'm not the kind of person who likes to call people out. I'm really not that sort of person. I prefer to do things by example than arguing with people, because I've personally found that if somebody's being shitty or whatever and I like call them out, if I do it in public, first of all, I embarrass them, and I push them farther from coming to an understanding with me. So if somebody's being an asshole to you directly, of course, you shouldn't let that happen. But if you're like in a classroom, for example, and someone's like, oh, pink games are dumb or whatever, just, know to yourself that that's not true. And if you want to, make an effort to make games that appeal to you, and they'll eventually come around. When I was going to school, I was dealing with those kinds of attitude, absolutely. Like, a lot of my classmates didn't really care about pink games, and I was really interested, and it was kind of considered a joke. But you know what? I graduated top of my class. I had one of the best presentations, for my final presentation. A lot of people came to my booth. I got a lot of job offers, and that just showed to the guys, like, I stood out because, I was doing the more interesting and the more progressive stuff. And I think that history is going to be on your side. So, don't worry about what they think.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, if somebody is, like, if somebody ever goes, like when I was working at another company, I didn't feel like a lot of my ideas and points of views were appreciated. So I was like, fuck it, I'm out. Like, bye. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And I let that passive aggression fuel me until one day I was like, huh, look at you and look at me.
Yeah,
prove it by doing it.
Yeah, consider it in this way. Like, don't feel as though you have to set them right. You should have it so that they feel as though don't feel as though you have to set it right in their eyes. Make it so they have to set themselves right in your eyes. That's kind of the perspective.
Or just prove it for yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all about them. If you want to prove something, you prove it. You don't need to prove it to them, because sometimes people are never going to be convinced.
Yeah.
But just with the Geek Remix, I was like, fuck, I don't feel like I have anywhere to bitch about things I want to bitch about. And now I do. I get to complain all I want, and everyone says, yes, Mari, you're right. And I'm like, fuck yeah. But, like, if you have an idea and you feel in your heart that it's a good idea, and then all these people are saying, no, that's a shitty idea. There's a difference between constructive feedback and someone just saying no because they don't want to hear it. And that's hard to know. Anyway, follow your heart.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that you're pursuing game design. I am, that makes me really, really happy. But yeah, I think another way also to really help things along is take some time for yourself to look for games that are different and that are interesting. Become a tastemaker. And then when you kind of grow your audience, you can really share interesting stuff with other people. Because there's really nothing more satisfying as a game developer than having someone be interested in your game and talk about your game. And you'll make a lot of really awesome friends and connections that way, just by keeping an eye out for that stuff. So look for somebody's podcast, video game, anything, and just talk about it with enthusiasm, the enthusiasm that you have for it. And you'll become really, this sounds kind of like superficial, but you'll become really popular. But you'll become somebody that a lot of people will be interested and look up to, and you'll be able to help a lot of people at the same time. So that's my advice if you have an interest in those kinds of things.
You tell the story that you want to tell, and if you really feel like you want to tell that story, and other people tell you that story's like, or whatever, just do it, man. Like, and if you fail, that's okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to fail. Like, everybody fails a million times.
Sure.
And then they succeed. Like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Strawberry's walking all up on Prince right now.
Yeah. Let's see.
Are there podcasts?
That's Geek Remix. That's for you guys.
Stacy wants to.
No. We get asked that like all the time.
I would recommend the Horrorcast, which is a podcast.
The Horrorcast?
Yes, the Horrorcast. Like, the Horrorcast, which is a podcast run by sex workers. And they just talk about, just like standard facts and stuff. And it's just nice to be able to see perspectives. I would recommend Sawbones podcast because it's about a lady and her husband talking about medical history. It's amusing. The Giant Bombcast just for video game stuff. The Jimquisition. And the Black Girl Nerd podcast. Those are the ones I listen to.
Yep.
Okay, so is everybody all podcast out?
I'm good.
How are you?
I love to listen to myself talk, so I could probably go for 3 more days. But I sense that you guys are probably going to want
that. That was a Geek Remix Pink Games episode. This was Tess Young, a.k.a. the Chic Monster on Twitter, and Terminxie on Tumblr. She's making a game. Her Patreon is what?
Patreon.com/the Chic Monster, I think. I should probably know it by heart. Shit.
All right. The end.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Streaming. Bye.